Okay, we are loading up and we're headed to Tipton-Haynes Historic in Johnson City, Tennessee. Ain't that right, Winston? Tell everybody, say hello. Hello. Think we're ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, we're here.
We're here.
You be a good boy.
You want a cookie, Winston?
Oh boy, he's gonna get a cookie. So it does look like they're doing some work here on the building.
Yeah, maybe some remodel or construction or something.
Yeah. Yeah, the sign says, please enter through gate. They do have tours here. Tipton-Haynes State Historic Site. Landon Carter Haynes. Got milling stones out here. So we're going to go in and register and see if we can catch the tour this morning. This place tells a rich story of the history of the Northeast Tennessee and of the several families that lived here. 45 acres, 11 historic buildings that we're going to get to see. 1784. Wow, yeah, let's go in.
You could do a self-guided walk if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they have a map or something for you.
Entrance where we're at right now, you got museum, spring house, Catbird Creek Cave, Still House, Buffalo Trace, Buffalo Mountains right back up behind it, corn crib, pigsty barn, George Haynes cabin, the Tipton-Haynes home. That should be cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is a museum here. Got some things you can get. Okay, so we're greeted with a smile from Anna, who's going to be our tour guide.
Yeah.
And
Taylor.
This is a Taylor buggy right here. And a Randall carriage. It's neat, isn't it? Evolution of transport. Mechanized. Look at that. Who is that over there?
David and Rhoda Haynes. Rhoda.
A family divided, Civil War. Oh wow, check this out.
That's a two-seater.
Well, actually, it's four or maybe five.
I mean, like
Two.
back seat.
Yeah. This is a park beyond carriage. Remember, guys, you can pause the video, stop and read any of this you would like to. So as far as the state of Tennessee, we're right here. You can see right up here in the northeast tip. North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, everything's really close.
This is Landon Carter Haynes, Civil War.
That's 3 pieces of preserved cutlery. Bone handle. BC AD. That's got some age for sure. The United States in 1790. I guess around the time the farm here claimed by Spain. Look at that.
This is Anna. I'm going to be your tour guide today. So we now interpret roughly about 17 and a half of the original 100 plus acres bought by Colonel John Tipton. That property is going to be purchased in the 1780s, that early part more or less 1783, 1784. But our history actually spans quite an extensive amount of history. So down here in our lower field, we actually have a limestone cave on the property. That limestone cave is going to be here until the Pleistocene, pretty much since the Pleistocene time period. So what that cave's gonna have is we actually will have remains of a dire wolf found. We'll find a fossilized tooth in that cave. That is now on display at the Gray Fossil Site in Gray, Tennessee. But we'll have that. It'll also be a shelter for prehistoric people, Native American, Spanish, and English explorers. Down in our lower field, we also have a nature trail named after Andre Michaux. He's a French botanist from the 1700s. He's going to be sent over here by order of King Louis XVII from France to help actually collect trees to help with France's deforestation problem. He'll stay with Colonel John Tipton 2 nights, which is how we get the name for the trail, and he's actually very prominent in Appalachian botany specifically. We also have our spring house, which covers our natural spring down in our lower field. Our spring is going to be water for the area. It's going to bring animals to the area, which are going to bring the Native Americans. One of the animals in particular is a species of now extinct Appalachian buffalo. They're going to come up here from Buffalo Mountain down to our spring and get water from the property itself. We'll even have a buffalo trace on the property. They don't look too important or really too much of anything. They're just an indentation in the ground, but they will turn into Native American hunting trails, wagon roads, and eventually roads for our transportation. We also have a liquor distillery down in our lower field. It is non-operational. We have our barn, our pigsty, and our corn crib, and those are going to be more in the 1840s, 1850s style build from our Landon Carter Haynes time period. So the first house we'll actually go through is going to be our main historic home. The home has changed a little bit in its time period. It's originally going to start out as a 1.5-story cabin built by Colonel John Tipton. Colonel John Tipton, he'll be a recruiter for the Virginia militia during the Revolutionary War. He'll also be a part of Lord Dunmore's War before, which is going to be with the colony of Virginia. And when he moves here, he actually moves into what is North Carolina. Tennessee did not exist at the time. He'll build a 1.5-story log cabin. It gets added on by his son John Tipton Jr., who makes it a 2-story federal style farmhouse. We'll have our extension here. This is going to be the L. That will be built by Landon Carter Haynes. And then our last residents are going to be the Simmerleys. They'll be here pretty much from the late 1880s to the 1960s. So we'll come up around to our fort, and we'll actually start talking about the Battle of the State of Franklin. The fort is going to be built by Landon. It's going to be with the Greco-Roman Revival architecture style, which is prominent in the Antebellum South during the time period. So we are also home to a battle site. We'll have the Battle of the State of Franklin. Franklin is technically known as a lost state. It never officially existed. But as we begin western expansion to the Appalachian region, we'll have a state start forming known as the State of Franklin. It never is an official state, but it will have its own tax documents, courthouse documents, and even its own governor and taxes. A lot of the conflict will be the courthouse wars, which they're essentially just kind of getting rid of each other's court documents. But things will actually come to a head here on the site. So in 1788, Colonel John Tipton is going to get information from North Carolina to start collecting property from the residents of the state of Franklin for back taxes. Those residents of the state of Franklin are paying taxes for Franklin, not North Carolina. They are actually, he's going to order the local sheriff, Jonathan Pugh, to go to the governor of the state of Franklin's home at the time, a gentleman named John Sevier. Sevier is going to have property taken, and it'll be in the form of slaves. Those slaves are then brought here and locked in the kitchen basement for safekeeping. That is an exact quote from one of his letters. The militia will surround the property and will have the Battle of the State of Franklin on February 27th, 28th, and 29th of 1788. But things will start changing on the day of the 28th. We'll have a massive snowstorm come to the region. Down at our limestone cave, any of our Franklinites, our supporters of Franklin, are going to have to go to their main encampment down the road, more towards the subdivision beside us. That's actually going to have Tipton get reinforcements, and they're actually going to come back behind the house. All 3 days of the battle, we kind of have some reports that they're not necessarily trying to harm each other. We'll have a few injuries throughout the property, but we will, on that last day, have our sheriff, Jonathan Pugh, shot in the line of duty. And it is going to cause Sevier to retreat, making the Battle of the State of Franklin Sevier's only military defeat. A few days later, Sevier's governorship actually ends, and the state of Franklin's kind of thrown in a tizzy. It will officially be declared dead by January 1789. It really, after that, kind of gets the ball rolling for Tennessee. Colonel John Tipton, he's going to be on a few of those cabinets to help with some of the founding of Tennessee's documents. And when Tennessee is finally allowed to elect their governor, Sevier becomes governor of a real state at this point, becoming Tennessee's first governor.
So we're headed to the basement kitchen. Colonel Tipton cabin.
When you come in, please watch your head. It is quite a short door.
And the roof is low too.
Yes.
Yeah, I found that out.
So in here, it's going to be more kind of a half-story size. So this is the basement kitchen. It's not really common to see a kitchen completely attached to the house, but that's going to be what it is for Colonel John Tipton. So in here in the 1700s, it's going to be a dirt floor with a dirt ramp. It would not be our lovely brick. So this is where Sevier slaves are going to be kept while they are here up into the Battle of the State of Franklin once they are taken from Sevier's property. Call my mom later and be like, I'm on a YouTube video that's not on your channel. The main portion of the house overall is going to be built more with the Tipton time period. So in here we'll have the original main cabin and the extension built on by Colonel John. So this is going to be an enclosed working back porch. A lot of the artifacts that you'll see here are not going to be original to the home itself. They're going to be from the time period. We have a few reasonings for that, and a lot of it is going to be more of the antebellum 1840s, 1850s time period, where we were a private residence for so long. It is going to be kind of a good midpoint for us. So in here we have the textile process, from the wool carding to our spinning wheels to our loom, and then we even have a sewing machine. We also have a cider press, which doesn't involve fabric, but I just really like it. It's one of my favorite pieces.
That's neat.
We also have our exposed wall of the original cabin.
Oh,
That
yeah.
original cabin is going to be built with a process called chinking and daubing. So your lighter brown is the daubing. It's a mixture of sand, dirt, sediment, whatever you could find for a texture similar to concrete. If you were to cut that off, you would see stick stone, whatever you could find. We also have our original door frame of the cabin. So as it expands, the door is going to shift also. I wish it was lighter in here for you guys. So in here, this is going to be our parlor. You're going to have the higher ceilings you see today in the home in here. Higher ceilings are going to be more of a status of wealth. Higher ceilings are a lot harder to heat. I have been in this room when it's been cold in winter with our fireplace going. Our fireplaces are now powered by gas, so for any events that we have in the winter, we can have those on and keep the house relatively warm. So the property is going to be purchased from the Tiptons by the Haynes in 1837. That purchase is going to come from David Haynes, whose portrait's right here behind you. They actually live down the road in Unicoi County, but they're never going to live here. 2 years later, this becomes a wonderful wedding gift to their son Landon when he marries his wife Eleanor. So that's when the property goes to the Haynes family. It's going to be in 1837. We have some actually really unique artifacts in this room in particular. Our rug here, this is actually going to be a Haynes descendant rug. Not directly Arlene and Carter Haynes, but it'll be in the family. And it is from the time period. It is okay to step on. I do it every day. We also have our piano here. It's going to be a little bit later than our antebellum period. It's going to be roughly 1880s, 1890s. It is a J.P. Hell & Co. square grand piano. And I absolutely love the little detailing on it. It is gorgeous. So in here, this is going to be our sitting room. So we're actually going to see the end of the original cabin and the addition of John Tipton Jr. So right here is going to be the end of that original cabin. And then this is going to be expansion of John Tipton Jr.'s work.
Okay.
So realistically, if the weather's bad enough, they're going to be in here living their daily lives. We also have a bed in here because this room's going to double as the infirmary. They understand germ theory to the extent of if you're sick, you're going to get someone else sick. At like 11 o'clock last night during paranormal investigations. So this itself is going to be our girls' room. When John Tipton Jr. moves onto the property, we don't have his date for exactly. It's going to be sometime in the 1810s. But he is going to be moving daughters in with him. Overall, he has 7 daughters. We think 3 to 4 of them are married at that point. But that is still going to have 3 or 4 daughters in this room, and it's not too big. So this will be the daughter's bedroom. And we have some of the underclothes, nightgowns, stockings, pantaloons right there. And then we have an absolutely lovely patchwork quilt. And then we have our little doll bed here. And then one of the really cool features with our fireplaces is they are actually wood. And they're just painted to look like marble. That's your step. So we're now in the boys' bedroom. You're going to see a horseshoe shape to our ceiling, and that's going to show that this is old cabin. So this is now part of the original structure of the cabin. So this is our boys' bedroom. We have our cross breeze windows. Those are originally going to be kind of more for air conditioning. At the time you open those, you get the breeze, helps cool down the house. And could also be used as home protection. The road out here at the time is going to be one of the main roads from North Carolina to Jonesboro, Tennessee. So you always want to make sure that your home is better protected. We also have a really cool thing with this window. If you notice, it is completely blacked out. But let me get my phone flashlight. When you put your flashlight inside this bottom panel, it actually lights up and you can see the inside of that front porch that Landon built. When he added it, he just added it on. And I have actually somewhat shimmied up in this window. And the outside paneling of the home on this side, so behind the porch, is actually brown and not white. And we had HVAC people come and find a door actually right through here.
So they just found the door this past year.
We just found the door this past year.
It's hidden in there.
Yeah, so we are hopefully going to get state approval to cut a hole and get the door, but
Oh, yeah.
show them that. So we'll go on to the next room. This is going to be our master bedroom. Then put your back on the wall. Okay. So how do you feel right there?
I'm bumping.
You're bumping?
Yeah.
Okay. So we actually have no photographs, no portraits, not really any descriptions of Colonel John Tipton, except for roughly his height. He's about 6 feet. So he's going to be bumping his head pretty much with that 1.5, because this is going to be a half story while he's here. But this is going to be our master bedroom. We have our crib and our toddler bed. Infant mortality rates are relatively high during the time period. They want to keep their kids with them till about 4 years of age. Make sure we have a better chance of life expectancy to adulthood. We also have one of my personal favorite artifacts here. It is going to be this beautiful dry sink and chamber pot set. It was imported from, I believe, the 1880s from Japan during an exploration from a gentleman named Commodore Perry. Apparently, he was relatively big in the naval history world. He loved it.
It's raining.
Please watch your head.
Oh, yeah, I'll knock it.
It's actually going to be the L, and we actually have to go out of the house into the L because while it looks connected out here, the L is actually not connected to the house. We have what's known as a firewall between our back wall of the L and the main portion of the home. And this is just essentially a break in construction. It's going to have a gap roughly about this big. And it's just, if something was to catch on fire here, it would take less time to go to the main portion of the home. So the L is going to be actually built in 2 phases. Our first phase is going to be in the 1840s. Our last phase is going to be completed in the 1855. And that first phase is going to be the dining room here, and this room right here, and then our kitchen will be constructed later on. Sarah Simmerly, she's Landon's niece, and she'll be the last private purchaser of the home in the 1890s. She moved here with her son Samuel and Lawson Simmerly. She actually does eventually fall, break her hip, comes down with cancer, and they move from the main portion of the home into here. So this becomes Sarah's bedroom. We actually have some originals from the Simmerleys in here. When you go in, you see Sarah's chest, and then Samuel and Lawson's high chairs. So it'll be that chest right there, and then the high chairs. So Sarah, she passes away in the late 1930s, and her son Samuel and Lawson still continue to live here on the property. Lawson, he works the railroad. At the time, there is a railroad track that's right across the street from the property. He essentially hops the train and goes to work. Samuel kind of works it more as a farm, and both brothers just continue to live here in the L. In 1942, the brothers are going to get a letter from an organization that is newly formed known as the Tennessee Historical Commission. They're actually going to ignore the first letter. They'll get another letter about 2 years later, and they will kind of essentially be strong-armed into selling the property. The brothers are going to lawyer up, and they'll sell it, but they're going to have life rights to the home. They're living here until they die. And that is exactly what they do. Lawson, he does lose both of his legs to diabetes, and both brothers pass a week apart from each other in 1962. So our Tipton-Haynes Historical Association, the nonprofit that runs our day-to-day processes, actually formed in 1965, and then we're opened up officially to the state in 1971. We're deemed one of the most historic sites in Tennessee. So this in here, this is going to be our kitchen. The Simmerleys, they actually put a coal stove here in the kitchen to help heat and cook, and they actually do not properly ventilate it because you can still see the coal dust remains here on the brick. That is still here. But this room, we have roughly about 200 artifacts in here, which is really unique. One of my favorites is this butter churner right here. It is huge, and essentially it just has paddles in it. It has the holes like you would normally have in the butter churner, and you just crank it. I personally love to know how much butter it makes and how long it would take me to eat that butter. But if there's a certain artifact you want me to talk about, please let me know.
She said we're going to the law office.
Office for Landon Carter Haynes. He is admitted to the bar in 1840 and becomes a lawyer. He studies law under a gentleman named T.A.R. Nelson in Jonesboro. He'll also be a newspaper editor for the Tennessee Sentinel. It is a political newspaper based in Jonesboro at the time. And he'll have a few other careers during his time period. He'll be a Methodist minister for all of 8 weeks, actively. He'll also be a Tennessee state representative and then a Confederate state senator.
Some big heavy books.
Oh, I know. So in 1840, we'll actually have a start of a feud between Landon and another gentleman named William Brownlow that kind of essentially follows Landon throughout all of his career. It starts out with a newspaper record of William Brownlow calling Landon a liar, a puppy, and a scoundrel in Brownlow's own newspaper. Brownlow is going to be the newspaper editor for the Whig, which at the time is stationed in Elizabethton. There will be in their history early on an attempt of assassination on William Brownlow's life, and he's fully convinced that Landon's the mastermind behind it. They'll also duel in the middle of downtown Jonesboro. Apparently Landon has said some unsavory things about Brownlow's mother, and so Brownlow asks him if he has his pistol ready. Landon lies and says no, so Brownlow hits him upside the head with his pistol, and Landon responds with a gunshot to the leg. It's broken up by a third-party individual. Their feud really never gets better, but it does get less violent as time goes on. But they're going to be completely directly opposed. Newspaper editing, their political parties are completely against each other. They're always kind of going to be duking it out.
She was saying they sold eggs over there. During part of...
When the Samuels lived here.
Yeah.
We have a few other buildings I'm going to point out before we head on to our last stop. We have our vernacular domestic outbuilding right here. It is the state's very fancy way of saying it is a Cimarron era work building. Vernacular means domestic, so it's a domestic work building. And I personally love the name. We also have our outhouse that's going to date from the Cimarron time period. It has been moved a little bit from its original location because of its sinking. We also have our sorghum fields and our apple trees. In the summer, we'll start planting sorghum. It's a sweetener kind of similar to molasses. You crush it and boil it. We do a festival here in September for that, and we make apple butter in October. We have here, this is our smokehouse to help better preserve meat. And it's also going to be a similarly time period build. Our last stop on the tour is going to be our cabin. And this is going to be the only building moved onto the property. So all of the other ones have been built here, except for this one. But it does sit on the original foundations of our George Kane slave cabin. So our original cabin, our cabin here, this is the Fox Harwood family cabin originally. It's built by the Foxes. It then goes to the Harwoods. And at some point it is actually converted into a barn. When you look up here, you'll see a little bit of the red. And this one did not get looked last night. So this is going to be that cabin. And it's going to look almost identical to our George Kane slave cabin that was originally here. And that cabin is just going to be kind of more the traditional cabin of the time period for the mountain region. It's going to be that size. But the only kind of real difference is our fireplace. Today it's made up of 2 different chimneys. Would have kind of been on this back wall. During the 1860s, we do have record of 3 slaves residing here on the property. Those are going to be the only slaves we have of record of their names. We do know that Colonel John Tipton did own slaves here on the property too. But those names are going to be Cornelia, a little girl about 6, Charlotte, a woman in her 60s, And then George, a gentleman kind of more in his mid-30s. George is going to be the one we know the most about. He's actually mixed. His father is David Haynes, and his mother is an unknown slave woman. So he's Landon's half-brother. When Landon goes off to Washington College, he is gifted George. And George goes with him to Washington College, which is going to be in Limestone, Tennessee. When Landon moves here on the property, George will be the collateral for the outbuildings. If he can't pay off his debts, they'll sell George. That never happens. George lives here pretty much until the end of the Civil War. He then goes west to Memphis, and it's believed he follows the family to Jackson after. One of the interesting things about George is he's actually literate. He has learned how to read and write, which is going to serve him greatly after the Civil War. But that is it for my portion of the tour. You're free to explore the rest of the site on your own.
And y'all do have events here, right?
Yes. Yeah, so in our next upcoming event, it's going to be later on in March. It's going to be our Springtime in Haynesville. It is our Civil War event. In the fall, we do a sorghum festival where we show the historic process of making sorghum. We also do a Stories from the Pumpkin Patch, where we have storytelling here on the site more close to Halloween. We also have a Visions of Christmas event. It's going to be a Civil War era Christmas event here in December. In February, we have our most popular event. That's going to be our maple syrup event. Starting in January, we actually tap our own maple syrup trees and we show the process of historically making maple syrup.
Oh, neat.
Our sorghum and our maple syrup actually do come with breakfast also.
Neat. How can people get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with us through our phone number. I would have to look that one up off the top of my head. But you can also email us at tipton-haynes@outlook.com. And we are open Tuesday through Saturday. Our summer hours have just started, so we're open from 9 to 4. Our last guided tour would go out at 3. And then our winter hours are going to be from 9 to 3.
And you can catch them on the web also.
Yes, you can also catch us on the web on Facebook, Instagram.
Thanks, Anna.
You're welcome.
What did you think about that?
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
Look at those dark clouds back there. We're going to go catch a couple of these places a little bit closer, then maybe walk down to the cave if it doesn't start raining on us. But we're going to go here to the sorghum mill, show you guys that. See what it says.
Mules Rock.
Firewood for sorghum and maple syrup only. Oh. Let's see there. And then the outhouse. This is better known as the necessary cairn.
Yeah, I saw that. But it's not for use anymore. That's what it says, not for use.
Surely somebody wouldn't come in here and try to use it. Makes you wonder how old something like that is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's my shoe for comparison. Look at that. That even. So this is the Buffalo Trace Trail. Again, I'm trying to get some of these shots so you guys can pause it and read it at home. But you can see how it's worn out down through there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, let's take off. Karen and I are lovers of history, so
Yes.
Thanks for watching this with us, and we'll show you a couple more things down here. And hope you think it's as interesting as we do,
Oh, very interesting, I think.
and we think you should come. It sits right off of Interstate 26 in Johnson City. It's really easy to find, and it was, what, $6 each for a guided tour?
Yes, and you could even go to their social media or email them for their festival calendar and come during a time of year when they've got something special going on.
Yes, and they're redoing the whole visitor center right now. What you saw earlier in the video is just temporary, and it looks real nice. I went over there because the restrooms are in that area. I'm going to check it out. And it is nice that they have the storyboards in each of the areas. If you wanted to just do a self-walking tour, the only thing is, if you do a self-walking tour, you can't go inside any of the buildings. She had to unlock them, so they're tour-led, which we recommend because that's a big part of it, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Let's see, let's go here to the bridge. I think the cave's over here, isn't it? This is a limestone cave. Look at that. It's existed since, wow, Ice Age? 2 million to 10,000? Come on. Really? Nice little stream coming through here. I see it over there. You see it?
Yeah. I'm not going in though.
Karen says she's not going in.
I'm not going in.
Look at that. Boy, it's cold air coming out of there. Wow-wee. I'm not sure. Some critters in here probably. Get back in there. I'm not sure how far you can go, but I'm not a cave explorer. This is a steel house.
Look at the roof.
Yeah. And this is the spring house. Obviously right here. Water. Can't really see in there. Well, maybe we can. Let's see. Don't watch my steps. Can you guys see in there? That's a spring house. It is a pretty pond. That is a beautiful area for sure. All right, up the hill we go. That is your pigsty right there. And here is the corn crib. Then we have the barn. This is the last piece, isn't it? An old wagon there. It's a double crib barn. 1850s. Wow. You have a place here where you could picnic after your tour. Be neat.
Hey y'all, so some of you probably know that our granddaughter had an extensive ear surgery back around Thanksgiving, and so she's got to have another one in a few days on her ears. So we bought her a little bear.
By the time y'all see this, it's probably already over, but we
Yeah.
appreciate y'all thinking and praying.
Yes, we do.
Let's go check on the boy. See what he's doing. Let him go to the restroom. See him in the mirror. Oh yeah, he's standing up. Hey. Hi there, buddy. We just had a phone tour. Okay, great time here, Tipton-Haynes. Listen to the boy.
Tipton-Haynes Historic Site.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Until next time, we're Fridays.
Forever.
Bye-bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Want to tell everybody bye? He's not going to.